Welcome to Big Data on Brews today with Mike Olson from Cloudera. Hello.
Good to see you, Stefan.
Can you introduce yourself and the brew you brought with you?
You bet. I am, as Stefan said, Mike Olson. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer and one of the co-founders of Cloudera. The business is about 6 years old now, and it was summer of 2008 when a small group of us banded together to start the business. Focused on delivering a big data platform built on Apache Hadoop. And of course, know you and your team from way back in the day. Very few others were working in big data at the time, but you were one of our very first partners. And I think we've watched the big data market and appetite for Hadoop explode, and analytic data exploration, the sort of tooling that Datamir provides, become a really critical part of that ecosystem. But been with the business from the very beginning, going strong and having fun.
Great. And what are we drinking today?
So
a classic California brew, huh?
I love Sierra Nevada. I actually quite enjoy craft brews as well. But maybe as much as 20 years ago, I discovered Sierra Nevada, back when you could still twist the tops off them. And about 2 years later, I loved the beer, and it kind of became my go-to beer. About 2 years later, Consumer Reports published a report that labeled this the best beer.
Oh my gosh. Well,
so, once they got there,
should we just drink out of the glass?
I'd feel more comfortable if we just did this. Cheers, and thanks for the hospitality, man.
Nice and refreshing. So, it's brewed in Chico, California. Do you ever went in this area?
I've not been to Chico. I do have a friend of the family who was a student at Chico State, and I understand people have a really good time.
I heard about that too. So close to Chico is this little town in Nevada City where I lived for a while. This is, we call it Big Data Capital, the secret Big Data Capital. So Ken Krugler lives there, who was one of the very first Nudge users with his old company, Krugel. And then, so I lived there 2007 maybe. And then Chris Wenzel, who's doing cascading there as well. And then the guy that did IBM Watson lives up there as well. And it's a 2,000 people. Yeah, it's a 2,000 people town.
What were you doing in Nevada City? Why were you living there?
I was just living there, consulting for different kind of companies, doing Hadoop projects at this time. And I worked for EMI Music at this time. And they said, "Oh, we're a fancy music company. You can live wherever." I'm like, "Okay, see ya."
Yeah.
And Sierra Foothills, it's beautiful up there.
Exactly. We like to spend a lot of time up Lake Tahoe area, so I know that drive very, very well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's great.
So you have an interesting background before you founded Cloudera. Give us a little bit more color on this.
You bet. So I'm a database guy from way, way back. I'm an engineer by training and by inclination. So I did my bachelor's and my master's work at UC Berkeley. And I was there at the time that the Postgres project was sort of the core focus of Mike Stonebreaker's research. And I began working for Stonebreaker, and I want to tell you, like 1988 or so, on Postgres. I designed and built much of the storage infrastructure, the B-tree code, and a bunch of the access methods, the R-tree spatial access method. I got my bachelor's in '91. In that year, I thought about going off and getting a job. Stonebreaker actually talked me into hanging around and becoming a graduate student. Entered the grad program, planning to get a PhD. I spent one more year at Berkeley and got my master's in '92. And actually stayed beyond that. But in 1992, Mike hired the entire Postgres research team, except for me, because I was still in the PhD program, away to start a company that became Illustra, which was really the first successful company to commercialize Postgres. And I learned in the ensuing year that I actually had no taste for research at all. I didn't like it. I liked those people. They were great to work with. And once they had all been extracted from the university wasn't such a great place to be. So I dropped out of Berkeley finally in 1993, joined Illustra. That was a lot of fun. It was a great run. We got acquired by Informix in 1996. Immediately before, for those of you who pay attention to database history, Informix restated earnings 3 times. So the deal when it went down was $440 million paid for Illustra. By the time the lockout ended and engineers could sell the stock that they owned, it was down to $100 million. So, well, yeah, I mean, it feels kind of bad. But remember, before that, I'd been a graduate student,
Yeah,
right? So, I'd been used to making $60,000 a year. For a while, on paper, I was fabulously wealthy. Then I was, merely pretty well off. But it was a great experience. I stuck around in Formix for 18 months about. Joined a biotech startup for a year. That was a one-year mulligan. I ran engineering for those guys, but it wasn't a really good fit for me. And then it was back to databases. Most significantly, what I did besides Illustra was SleepyCat. So we built, in fact, when I was at Berkeley, Margot Seltzer and I built Berkeley DB, the embeddable database. We, as SleepyCat, commercialized that in the late 90s and early 2000s. Business grew with no investment from outside ever, just on revenues. Very successful, very fun company. We got to about 25 people. We got to pretty respectable revenue, sort of, $12 million all in. But in 1995, 1996, it began to get challenging to continue to drive that growth without a large slug of investment capital. Result was, we decided to shop the business. We surprised ourselves by getting very strong inbound interest from Oracle. Wound up striking what was a great deal for the employees, the customers, and for the product, which continues to be developed at Oracle. I spent 2006 to 2008 at Oracle. And
that was the best time ever?
It was a couple things. Oracle's stock had been flat until the SleepyCat acquisition when it began to appreciate. And I was like, if I can do anything for you guys, just let me know. Clearly, lots at work there. But I really enjoyed the time I spent at Oracle. I met a lot of good people. I got to see how that organization functions worldwide. And as I said, it was a great home for SleepyCat and for Berkeley DB and for our customers. But after a couple years, I felt like I learned what I needed to learn there and was frankly looking to do something smaller. So I left Oracle in January. And by June, it had become clear to me that Hadoop had some real opportunity in the market. So met Christoph Bischilia from Google, Jeff Hammerbacher from Facebook, and Amr Awadallah from Yahoo, and the four of us banded together to start Cloudera that summer.
Before we diving deep into the Cloudera story, you still having connections to Michael Zornberger?
Mike and I are very close. We're on each other's Christmas card lists, and that's not because he doesn't write many Christmas cards.
Okay.
I was one of the speakers at his 70th birthday party back at MIT a couple months back. Maybe what's lurking behind your question is Mike's on record as not thinking that Hadoop is such a good idea.
Yeah, that's what. But he recently now added what's his new company? You say ETL?
Data Tamer.
But is it like an ETL play or?
It's data prep and ingest. So if you're going to have a big data platform, you got these huge streams of data coming in. That stuff has to be preened and cleaned and organized, and you can think of it as ETL, but actually, I'm sure you guys see this in the customers you talk to. So you guys build a beautiful tool, a beautiful product for exploring and analyzing data. In order to get it ready for the exploration and analysis, there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes work, right? Busting it into the right records and formatting it correctly and making sure that all the values are right. And Tamer, by the way, Trifacta and Paxata, are building products aimed at that.
So coming to the Cloudera story, how is it to grow, to see a company grow from 4 people to how many people are you now?
We are 675 people right now, and we're looking at around 800 by the end of the year.
I'm sure you don't remember all the names anymore.
I do not remember every single name of the company.
What was that the twist between working with all the people that you know to the point like we at the point like half a year ago like, oh, who's that? Oh, he works here, huh?
Yeah. Well, you've got to have the same experience, right? You walk down the hall, you're Stefan. Everyone knows who you are, right? I walk down the hall, I'm Mike. Everyone knows who I am. And they'll say, "Hi, Stefan," and like 80% of the time, you're just like, "Hi, man." It's a little bit uncomfortable. The growth has been fantastic. It's been wonderful to watch the company get big. Obviously, the job of building and running a company at this size is just radically different from what it was. I mean, I stepped out of the CEO job about a year ago now, just a little bit more than a year ago, because of that. So when a company's young an entrepreneur's job, and especially a technical founder, is drive the vision and get people excited about it, and make sure that the product is making progress. And, you know, as you get bigger, stuff like your 3-year financial plan and your path to profitability and the predictability in your sales pipeline, all that stuff becomes hugely important. And I just don't wake up in the morning thinking, staff meeting, man, staff meeting. Yeah. So I felt that I wasn't doing the job that the company needed me to do. I thought we needed to be world-class, and frankly, I didn't think I was going to be able to be world-class in that job. And it stopped being fun in an important way, right? I mean, you wake up in the morning thinking about customer problems and how technology can make customers' lives better. And I get excited about that stuff. And all that other stuff, which is absolutely critical, requires a guy whose brain is just wired differently, right? And so we surveyed the market. We hired a great CEO who had formerly run ArcSight, had been acquired into HP. His name is Tom Riley. Tom's been fantastic. Good partner to me. We are close friends. And I wake up in the morning now with a job that not only do I feel deeply competent at, but I really just love.
Before we getting into kind of the next generation technology, from your experience right now, you know, we talk MapReduce, SQL, HBase, you know, you guys have Flume, you have Scoop. Right. What's the most critical part of the infrastructure or most popular part of the infrastructure? What are people asking for? And then maybe in which different stage of the adoption cycle?
Yeah. MapReduce, absolutely ubiquitous, no surprise, right? It was the first kid to the party, right? So a huge investment in applications that run on MapReduce. The single biggest asset that Hadoop has is the storage layer, HDFS, right? It is that very forgiving, very accommodating place to put any kind of data at all, right? The set of engines that's becoming available up here is large and increasing quickly. And maybe later on we can talk about Spark and sort of what that means. But the pace of innovation at this layer is absolutely frantic. As the Cloudera Chief Strategy Officer, but also as a long-lived data guy, right? I think the most interesting thing happening right now is the emergence of machine learning as a real first-class tool for enterprise data analysis. That used to be rocket science that happened in academic research labs, are really hard to wrap your heads around. Now there are beginning to be algorithms that surface that stuff and make it easy to train models and then to score basically vectors and basically do predictive analytics. Good user interfaces on that, I think, are still a big opportunity. But we're going to see, we expect, huge adoption of ML techniques for analytics in the enterprise.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining for Big Data on Brews, and talk to you in the next segment.
That's great.